Oh hey guys, today we'll be doing an SSD upgrade on the HP Pavilion Touchsmart 23 all-in-one PC. The exact model for this reference video here is actually the 23-F as in Frank 309, as you can see here. I really couldn't do a video because I don't have a recorder, but with all of these print screens that you'll be able to see, it should be very simple for you guys to follow anyways. So it's pretty straightforward. So we'll go to the first picture here. As you can see, if you're looking at the back end of your system, there's going to be 3 screws that won't be removing. You'll just be unscrewing them because they won't come out. You can either use a drill or just a hand, star screwdriver, which is located one there on the bottom left, and then one on the bottom right, and then one you can't see here, which is right in the middle, right above the base, the top middle base of your all-in-one. You'll see it there if you actually look at it in the back. There's only 3 screws. So once you once you've unscrewed these 3 here, 1, 2, and 3, what you'll be able to do is, if you just lift the handle here, just carefully, you'll see that it'll actually come off very, very easily. So once you've taken this off here, just put it somewhere safe, and then you'll be able to see the your regular 3.5-inch hard drive that's actually on the bottom left area of the system in the back end. And all you have to do is you don't even actually have to unplug the SATA cable or the power cable, because once you remove this single screw here, it'll actually allow you to slide this whole casing to the left side. And if you see these notches here, 1, 2, and 3, there's 3 up here also, but once you use your left or right hand just to slide it over to the left, it'll completely disengage itself from this SATA cable and the power cable that's secured to the actual frame of the system. So if you look at here, you just lift up the handle and then slide over to the left. That's all you got to do. It's pretty simple. And then once you remove the whole hard drive casing, there will be 2 screws on each side, 2 here as you can see, then there's going to be 2 on the other end. Once you remove those, just make sure that you're actually holding your 3.5-inch hard drive from underneath, because it will fall if you don't brace it and stuff like that. And as you can see here, you can just slide it out like I did. And the thing is, for the new installation, you won't even need a caddy. I didn't use a caddy for my client because he didn't want to pay for the caddy, and I said, you know what, I will just use the just a basic a small piece of sponge about 4 to 5 millimeters thick to prop it up, as I will show you in the video a little bit later, because it's going to be sitting up a little bit higher than the actual base of the system in the back. So what I would recommend you doing too is just put the casing aside with the 4 screws that you've removed from the hard drive that held it together in that casing, and just put it in a Ziploc bag and keep it in a safe place. And if you look at this picture here, this is what I did. I literally had just a little sponge that I literally cut out, and this will be used to basically prop it underneath where the new SSD is going to go. So if you look at this picture here, to the left, I actually had it placed right here, going from left to right. And then so once and all I do is just double-sided 3M industrial tape on the bottom end and then on the top end. As you can see, the bottom end is to basically for it to stick to the metal, and then the top end is for your SSD to also grab it so that it doesn't slide around like that. So once you do slide it, as you can see, it will look like this. And that ain't going anywhere. The SSDs are so bloody light that 3M industrial tape will basically hold it in place. And this is putting it back together here. So once you have the SSD, plugged into the SATA cable, you just go grab the cover that you had removed. And this is the most important thing when you're actually putting the back cover back on. If you look at these latches here, as you can see, they're like L latches. If you don't place them in the proper sequence, for these to catch here, as you can see, you won't be able to close the top end, because the first time I actually had put it there, I thought it would just slide under, but you really have to make sure that these latches are lined in place, and I think there's about 8 to 10 of them running from left to right. And once you got that on there, just make sure that the top end is actually just all aligned properly. And then once you do have that, close it completely, And what you will notice is that once you laid it down, you will also see that, you know, the top end will actually be closed. And then once that is done, you can actually retighten the 3 screws that you actually had removed originally from step 1, as you can see here. And then what I had to do at the top also, sometimes you just got to squeeze a little bit, you know, just on the outer edge of your screen, your touch screen. If you squeeze a little bit, if there's a little gap, you're not gonna break the screen or anything. Just squeeze it, you know, like in a medium squeeze, and just to make sure that it's all nice and flush, just like what you see here. And you know, and this was the hard drive that my client had chosen to go with, was it was a 500 gig, you know, the new 870 series EVO from Samsung, which is a really good hard drive. You know, it actually comes with a 5 years manufacturer's warranty, which is really awesome too. And you know, once you do that, you know, once it's all completely closed, I will also provide you guys a link on actually on where how to download your image for, you know, so that you can actually, you know, install your Windows 10. So once you've done that, you know, once it's completely closed, you know, plug in your cord, you know, your keyboard and your mouse, and plug in your Windows 10 flash drive onto your all-in-one. And you know, there's actually, I think, 2 ports on the left side here, because I don't have the system with me anymore. 2 are there, and then I think there's 4 in the bottom back left on that too. So once you do that, all you have to do is power up the system, and then once the system powers up, just press the escape key. And then once you press the escape key, you're going to be running into this. Well, it'll actually give you a bunch of options. So what we want to do here is that, so that you are able to boot off of your USB flash drive, you actually have to, you know, go into the BIOS to make a change. In this specific model here, you have to go make a change so that it'll actually detect your USB bootable device. Because if you don't go into the BIOS, it's not going to show up under your boot option menu when you push F9. So, you know, press choose the computer setup here, you know, press enter, and it'll bring you to the main BIOS menu where you'll see storage, security, power, blah blah blah. And all you have to do is choose the security option here, scroll down to the secure boot configuration, and it'll bring you to this menu, and it'll ask you to accept or escape. Of course, you're going to choose F10 to accept. Once you accept that, it will show you this menu here. And what I did was, all you have to do is, with this one here, it was actually reversed, because I've actually already made this change, and I forgot to take the picture before and after, but it's very simple. As you can see here, the original menu would look like your secure boot would actually, it is enabled by default, and then your legacy support devices, that was actually disabled. So all you have to do is make sure that you choose secure boot, disable your secure boot, and enable your legacy you know, support, which supports your USB, you know, devices and stuff like that. And once you've made that change, just make sure you press F10, accept the changes, and then go to this menu here at the top left hand corner of your BIOS, go to File, Save Changes, and Exit. And once you exit, you will actually on the reboot, this is the actual screen that you're going to see once you're rebooting. It's going to prompt you to enter some type of code. It might be, mine was 1306, and then you hit enter. Yours could be 1508 or blah blah blah, whatever. But just, you know, type down the number that you see, and then press enter. And once you press enter, it will you know, bring you, you know, that's when you press enter, that's when you hit the escape button again right afterwards, which will bring you back to the multiple, you know, boot option menu, what you can choose to do. You can go back into the BIOS or choose boot option, which what we will be doing. You know, you can't run system recovery because it doesn't exist in a brand new hard drive. You know, that only comes with the original system that it came with straight from HP or whatever brand you have. So once you choose the boot menu for F9, as you can see, since you've already plugged in your bootable Windows 10 USB flash drive, you're going to see that, you know, these are the options that will show up. So mine was a Kingston Data Traveler, you know, a USB 3.0 flash drive, as you can see here. That's what I'll be choosing. So if you guys actually had a different brand, you know, no matter what brand you have, just look for your specific USB flash drive, choose that, and then press enter. And then it will bring you to this Windows 10 installation screen. Pretty straightforward. You just choose next, click next, and then it will come to this menu here. And then you just click on install now, agree with the licensing terms, That will be the next screen. And then in the screen here, you won't choose the upgrade install Windows because you don't have an existing Windows. So what you'll be choosing is option 2, which is to do a custom installation of Windows, the advanced option, which is at the bottom. So once you choose that, it will bring you to here. So what I did was, originally you're just going to see one partition. I've already actually taken one step ahead. So what you do is you won't see these 2 partitions here. You'll just see one that will be probably about 466 gigs or whatever, close to the same as this is. If yours is a 250, you'll see slightly below 250. If yours is a 1 terabyte, you'll probably see about a little bit above 900, gigs of space on your hard drive. But once you choose that, just choose a specific drive, and just select the amount of space that it will show up here. You can agree with the full space for one partition, or if you want to do multiple partitions, you can actually split them in half if you want to. In my situation, if I wanted 250 gigs for each one, then you would just, the first one you would put is you would just choose the amount of the half of the amount of number that you see that was available. But to make it simple, I would just choose the basic, just keep it with one partition, and then you just go from there. So once you've done that, all you have to do is press next, and then what it'll do is it'll actually installing the Windows. And this is one of the important keys too, though. So once you've actually, the Windows is restarting, just make sure Windows is actually finishing up, and then you'll see the restart progress bar. I think it gives you about 10 seconds to do a restart. You can press any key to restart, or it'll actually restart on its own within about 10 seconds. So just remember that when it reboots into this screen here where it's saying getting ready, just make sure that you remove your Windows 10 USB flash drive, because if you don't, there's a very high possibility that it'll actually loop again and go through a new install of Windows 10, continuously back and forth. So if you remove your Windows 10 flash drive, it doesn't need it in there anymore. So to prevent that looping process, just remove it, and then it will go through this procedure. Sorry, it will go through other procedures, which is way before this here. Which is pretty straightforward. It's just going to ask you, before you're seeing the desktop here, it's just going to ask you to basically choose a bunch of options on how you want your Windows to look. If you want Cortana, if you want you got to set your regional time zone, your username, just the basic stuff. And once you get to the desktop, all you have to do is just go to the bottom left of your screen, on the search bar, and just type in Device Manager. And Device Manager will be the first option that will actually show up in your in your results in the search. And then what it'll do is it'll actually bring you to this menu, minus this white box that you see here for the drivers actually installed for the display driver. And the bonus thing is, with this, you're only going to see one exclamation mark, which is actually your Bluetooth driver. So once you've already connected to your wireless network, because it already has drivers for your wireless network card, or your Ethernet, if you're going straight, you're hardwired. I went wireless in this case here because I had this on my dining table when I was doing this setup. So you don't need to download drivers from HP's website or anything. So it's pretty straightforward. So once you see one exclamation mark under your Bluetooth, you just click on that device, and then just choose update driver, and just actually have Windows automatically find your drivers for you, and it'll install the drivers automatically for you within about probably 10-15 seconds. And once you go into there, what I can show you here is this is what you can do. So what we'll do is we'll go into Device Manager here, because all I had to really do was just type in Device Manager, right? So if you go to Device Manager here, your Bluetooth drivers will be installed, but the one thing that also isn't installed, that doesn't show an exclamation mark, is your display adapter. Also, what you do is you just double click, or just double click into this, and it'll actually just show you a Microsoft display adapter. And, you know, for this case here, this customer here actually had an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 video card that was built into his all-in-one. So once you go into that, also you just click on the device, go to driver, and update driver, and then search for it automatically, and then it will change it to the same driver as I have here if you actually had the same model. So that was just an example there, and that's done there. So then once you've done that, you're completely done, you know. And as you can see here, that's just another screen from that, and that was device manager, and this is just the bare desktop of what I actually have for my client. So and you're pretty well done. So if you want anything else that you want to install for yourself, like, you know, Adobe Acrobat Reader to read your PDF files, or I use WinRAR, you know, to extract, you know, zip files and stuff like that. So you know, Windows 10 also comes with Windows Defender, you know, so I mean, if you want to grab, you know, McAfee or Norton's or something else, I really don't think those things work any better than Defender. They're pretty crappy. I mean, but I think most systems now these days are more infected by malware as opposed to a lot of Trojans and viruses. So if you want to get something good, I would probably highly recommend using Malwarebytes. So just go to malwarebytes.com with a bytes.com, and just download the free trial from there and just see if it works good for you. And you know, and that's about it. So I mean, if you guys have any questions or anything else, just write down in the comments, and thanks for watching.